if you lived in the Central Florida area from, let's say, the late 90s into the early 2000s, and if you like to go out at night, especially the country nightclubs, you probably either went to or at least heard of a place called 8 Seconds. 8 Seconds was an awesome place. It was a huge country bar right in downtown Orlando. The Ace Cafe is there now. I think that has been closed. But if you drive down I-4 and you see where the Ace Cafe is, that was 8 Seconds for a long time. It was the Edge prior to that, and then it was 8 Seconds, and it was all kinds of good stuff. And I'm doing this video because I've had a lot of great 8 Seconds memories here lately, and I'll get into more of that. But I know many of you that are watching this, maybe you guys went to 8 Seconds, and if you guys have a great memory about 8 Seconds, throw that in the comments and let's hear it, and let's take a little stroll down memory lane. If you don't have good memories, or if you have bad ones, yeah, we don't want to hear about those. We only want to hear about the good stuff. So the reason this comes up now, at the day I'm shooting this video, it's May 20th, right, and 2025. We had an event at the barn, a Trucks Gone Wild Tug of War, on Saturday night, May 17th. I was actually going to do this video last week because I was just reminiscing about 8 Seconds. Well, I thought, you know what, we always see a lot of people at the barn tug of war events that used to go to 8 Seconds, so maybe that'll happen. And then I got a text from an old buddy of mine, John, one of the owners. 8 Seconds was owned by John and Bill, and John was one of the owners. And he texted me, I forget what day it was, maybe it was Thursday. He goes, hey, I'm in town, I'm going to come see you guys. I haven't seen John in 22 years, so I was excited about that. I was like, cool, John's going to come by and check everything out. And as I said, you know, we kind of started Trucks Gone Wild over 20 years ago, and we'll get into that because 8 Seconds has a lot to do with that. But we've taken our truck tug of war events from 8 Seconds, and then that closed, and we went to Jesse Black's. That closed. We went to Cowboys. Cowboys, the lot where the big bus station is, that property got sold, and then boom, we're at the barn now. So that's encompassed 21 or 22 years of events like that. But that goes back to one of the things I think about. And the reason I remember 8 Seconds so fondly is because so many things in my life, everything career-wise, really kind of was spawned there. Not directly a result of 8 Seconds necessarily, but they were definitely the results of some of the relationships that I had from there. If you talk about Trucks Gone Wild, for example. See, Chris worked for the company and ran a big recording studio, and that's where I met Chuck. And the three of us that own Trucks Gone Wild, that's where we all met. So that's where that whole thing started. It was because of my friendship with Chuck that I got into Monster Jam. And because of Monster Jam, I got on Speed Channel. And Speed Channel, that led to Truck U, which we're still shooting. And I hope and pray that show just goes on forever because that's so much fun to do. So I look back at all this career stuff, and it all kind of spawned from there. You know, positive memories. There's some funny ones too, and I'll get into those in a minute. And here's why I do all these videos. I did one recently about taking advantage of opportunities, you know, and not saying no to things when something happens, and also the concept of spinning your wheels. So let's go back in time. This was a pretty good memory for me, was talking with John down in the office of the club. We called it the green room, right? And I'm sitting in the chair. I'm 27 years old. And I'm like, dude, I said, I love this job. This is fun. But my contemporaries are getting jobs, you know, and this is cool. I don't want to work in the club forever. And the club was a great job, and I'm not knocking that, but I wanted to do more. And John put my mind at ease. He was real cool. He's like, dude, listen, you're 27. Not everybody knows what they want to do when they're 27. You know, he goes, if we're sitting down here when you're 30 and we're having the same conversation, then you maybe have to start looking at things. Well, you know what happened, right? 3 years later, like clockwork, I'm sitting in the same chair talking to John in the same room. I'm like, dude, I'm 30. Now I'm still here. It's still a 30-year-old working at the club, you know. And again, I loved my job there and everything was cool, but I felt like my wheels were spinning. And I just felt like I was going through the motions. It's like, well, I'm showing up, I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. But man, I sure would like another opportunity to kind of present itself. Well, unbeknownst to me at the time, and this is another thing I talk about, like when you look back, everything makes much more sense than when you're going through it. And that's a hard thing to explain to younger people because they're like, man, when's something going to happen? Well, when I was having that conversation with John saying I'm 30 and I'm still working in the club, right? I was within a year of starting Trucks Gone Wild with Chuck and Chris. We hadn't even thought about it at that time, but it was that next year, if I'm not mistaken, that we started it. And then that was the same thing in the next year that the audition came along for Truck U. So that's my point, is you don't always know when something good is about to happen. But I remember that so fondly, and John putting my mind at ease, and it was such a cool thing. Now, all kinds of people have gotten married because of meeting at 8 seconds. Probably more divorces, but I mean, it is what it is. The funny thing at the barn now, like Saturday night, is there's guys pulling trucks that used to pull at 8 seconds with us. There's guys working with me that we used to work with at 8 seconds, and there's this whole like flock of kids that are all 19 to 24, and it was their parents that we used to hang out with all the time. So like this whole new next generation of kids coming up, and it's pretty cool. There was another one, just a funny story for me one time, because 8 seconds, if you didn't know, it had live professional bull riding in the back corner every Saturday night. And somebody, you'll tell people this that didn't go there, and they're like, "Oh, mechanical bulls?" No, I'm talking about the real ones. Hairy, they stink. People ride them and they try to hang on for 8 seconds, hence the name of the club. And so there was a guy that was originally involved in that, and he was announcing all the shows, like when the club first came around and all that. And I don't know what happened. I didn't get into the politics of things back then, but they had he and the owners of the club, they had a parting of the ways. And I remember Bill and John come walking up to me, and it's early in the evening on Saturday. They're like, "Hey, Matt, we got a new bull riding announcer." I'm like, "Oh yeah, who's that?" They're like, "Congrats, it's you." I'm like, "Okay, guys, let's talk about this, because I've never watched it, I've never seen it, and I don't know anything about it." And they basically pat me on the shoulder. They're like, "You'll figure it out." I could have just froze up and not did it, but I didn't have a choice. There was nobody else around really wanted to do it. So fortunately, there was a gentleman named Keith who was one of the judges and a bull rider as well. And we knew each other. And I told Keith, I said, "Dude, you know that I don't know anything about this." I said, "But if you can just feed me." We sat on like 2 telephone poles, and Keith sat here and I sat there, and I'd put the mic down over here, down to the side, and Keith would like tell me the name of the cowboy, name of the bull, and what to say for that. And when it came to filling time, no problem. I've got that. I can fill time with the best of them, but I just didn't know anything. And we got through it. And that was just another thing that I remember so fondly. So again, I wanted to put this out there and mention the fact that I was very fortunate. I worked in, you figure, I started at Sullivan's. I mean, it goes back to Cheyenne Saloon. Then you got Sullivan's, and then over to 8 seconds. We worked with Jesse Blacks for a while, and now at the barn. People say that the nightclub business is shady or whatever. Man, I have been so fortunate to work with wonderful people in every single one of those situations. And I have so many fond memories about it. Again, if you have any memories of 8 seconds or anything like that, put them on here. It's cool. There are some other kind of things too, as the companies evolved and developed, that I just think make good stories. But the whole reason that I do these, and nobody makes it to the end of the video, and I'm fine with that. If you made it to the end of the video, please put that in the comments, because you're the one. Hi, Mom. Thanks for watching the whole thing. You're awesome. Love you. Mom even probably turned it off. But here's the thing. It's all about that, taking advantage of the opportunities that come along and not being afraid to do something. Step out of your comfort zone and do it. So I can't imagine. We almost didn't start Trucks Gone Wild. I can't imagine how different my life would be if I didn't do that. I almost left the Truck U thing early on. So glad I didn't. Life would be different. So it'd be a lot more boring. Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a great day, and we'll catch you next time.